Oh yeah, you can't go crazier than we are. Today's gonna be fun. Today's another analyzing a chapter video. We are doing it live. We're gonna have some fun with this. But I will add, and if you didn't know, this is not the first. We are on, I think, the 10th video like this. Now, seventh. This is our seventh video, specifically like this. So if you like these kind of videos, you like where I break down chapters of successful books and show you a little bit behind the curtain, let me know in the comments. I'll keep doing these, I like doing them. These are a little different than my prose videos where I study just simply the prose. I break down the prose and make sure the prose are doing certain things. This is a deeper dive. We're going to look into Sunrise on the Reaping. And we're going to look at the first chapter, which is quite long, by the way. We're going to approach it a little differently this time, only because it is a longer chapter. But basically, I'm going to look at, is it a complete chapter? Are the scenes complete? Do they have beginnings, middles, and ends? We're going to look deeper into how the writing is and the word choices and all this other stuff, and just do a deep dive. Why? Because as writers, we should be studying the craft to ultimately understand what it is that's happening on the page, so we can make choices. Remember, your author voice is based solely on the choices of what you like and don't like, and what you utilize and don't utilize. So we are gonna get into that. Before we start, though, let's say, hey, Flowers, how's it going? Yeah. We're gonna get into it today, but we are gonna go deep today. I'm telling you, it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be fun. But before we jump into that, remember there is a poll. Would you rather, and we'll talk about it at the end of the hour, would you rather live in your novel's world? Would you rather hang with your protagonist from your novel? Would you rather grab a meal with your antagonist? Or would you rather trade lies with the love interest? All right, let's really get into it. And again, if you have any questions about what I'm doing, why I'm doing it, or things like that, feel free to ask. But you could also, absolutely, without a doubt, ask a question about writing or your book, and I'll tell you. Okay. So, if you don't know, this is Sunrise on the Reaping. This is Suzanne Collins' 2025 dystopian fiction. If you've read it, great. If you haven't, spoiler alert. If you have seen the movie, I'm sorry. But I will say this. If YouTube is listening, this is for educational reasons. This is for educational purposes only. Again, I repeat, YouTube, this is for educational purposes only. We are literally breaking things down. I am a developmental editor and a writing teacher, and I'm utilizing this lesson to show other writers how to analyze writing. They always tell you, if you can't be a writer if you don't read. But what are you looking for in the book when you're reading? I say read the book for fun, then go back and do what we're about to do, just to sort of make sense of it. Why? Because you could understand your own pacing in your book. That's right, the speed at which information is presented to the reader. So we can see how fast or how slow the setup is for a chapter in a successful book. How much time do they linger in the conflict or challenge of that chapter? And of course, is it a quick or a short or very slow resolution? But there's other things involved. So we're going to be talking about that. And again, please ask questions. Hey, what's up, Ashley? I'm heading to... Whoa, hey, that's going to be fun. But I'll email you once we get to our destination. Fantastic. Be safe. Have fun. Much love to the family. Hello, hello, hello. Excellent. Very stressful week. Not a lot of editing done, but I do have a new buyer. That deserves, that right there deserves a I'm so happy for you. I'm happy for you, my friend. All right, let's get into it. Sunrise on the Reaping. Now, the reason there's some highlighting going on is because normally I would sort of like skim through the chapter and be like, oh, this is the beginning, this is the middle, end. Because this chapter is 6,820 words. Yes, it's the first chapter. Also, fun note, this book is 27 chapters. And every chapter is directly connected to one plot point of the 27 plot point outline. Just a fun, interesting fact. Anyway, so the only thing I did was sort of read through it, skim through it, and just map out what the setup or the intro of your chapter is, the middle of the chapter, and the end of the chapter. That's all I did. I didn't do any pre-work. This is real-time analyzing because I like to, practice my skills as a developmental editor, and also show you in real time how sometimes we don't get it right at the start. Sometimes we have to work through it. We have to process it. And that is an important note to any reader, writer out there, or developmental editor. Nothing is perfect the first time. We have to kind of work to it. Anyway, the thing I notice is the setup to this chapter is 1,657 words. By the way, you might be wondering, Thomas, isn't that a lot of words? Yes, 7,000 words is a lot of words, but I do not think a chapter doesn't demand 7,000 words. It's up to you as the writer. You know how they say, it should be a quick 1,500 words, 3,000 words is too much. It is a creative medium, and your goal is to make sure that the chapters are doing their job and the narrative is moving. At the end of the day, seriously, it doesn't matter how long your chapter is, as long as it's being earned and doing what it's supposed to be doing. And we've talked about that before. I have plenty of videos on the purpose of a chapter, especially in the How to Write a Narrative course, which I believe, do I talk about it? Because the first 3 videos are free. I think one of those videos are the chapter things. Susan totally bought your book. Imagine. No. Because Hunger Games is also 27 chapters. And I really love that book because, not because I like the book, but because it does fit the whole. All right, let's get into it. All right, so again, it's going to be about 1,600 words for the setup. It's going to be 2,700 words for the conflict. And of course, the resolution will be 2,400 words-ish. Now, if you notice, the middle is the longest. That's usually because the conflict, the problem is going to be there. Now, I will say this. I'm going to just explain what the setup was, because again, I gave it a quick read. And then I will go into what the conflict and resolution is. And then we'll go into the deeper stuff. Hey, what's up, M? On me some longer ice cold Pepsi. Yeah, I got my Pepsi in hand. I got my Pepsi. All right, so the intro is a wake-up scene. That's right. Hunger Games. The Hunger Games starts with a wake-up scene, and Sunrise on the Reaping begins with a wake-up scene. And what did he tell you? Don't do wake-up scenes. Again, you're allowed to do anything you want, as long as it has purpose. Do I think this is a good, strong first chapter? I'm going to say no. But I'm not here to have an opinion. I'm here to show you what's what. So the opening is telling us 2 very important things. It's Haymitch's birthday, and it's the day of the reaping, which, by the way, it's like poetry. You know? It's a lot of repetition, right? So Hunger Games starts off on the reaping, the day of the reaping. And we learn that in this setup, we learn that it's been 5 years. Okay, this is the 5th. That's why it's a setup. We are learning enough information to understand what needs to be challenged after this. We learn that Haymitch, it's his birthday. We learn that, more importantly, it's 5 years since it. We also learn that he's in love with this girl, Leonora Dove. By the way, I'm going to highlight this real quick. When you're writing, you could do this. There's nothing wrong with this. But you don't have to always spell the character's name all the way out. I think maybe that is her name is her full name. But imagine saying Haymitch's full name the entire book. Like, that would be crazy. Anyway. So this setup is we learn the family. We get a sense of, just like in Hunger Games, we get a sense of the family. Hey ma, hey pa. He has a mother and father, so that's slightly different. We got cold running water only. It comes out in thin streams. Okay, we get it. He has a couple things he has to do. All right, so the first, we're gonna actually break down this first scene. I'm not gonna break down all the other scenes, but I'm just sort of going through the chapter, and then we're gonna go back and look at some stuff. All right, and then the second scene. By the way, there isn't a chapter break. It looks like this. It's just continuous. And by the way, a scene doesn't have to be broken up by a chapter or a soft or hard chapter break. A scene just means that the focus or information that's being presented is shifting. Just like a movement or a passage, a movement changes based on its intent and focus. So this scene, basically, this first scene ends with him being like, all right, I'm going, I'll be back, I'll be back. All right, and now he's off, or she's off. She's off. Yeah, he's off. All right, so Haymitch is off. I don't know. It's in first person. Uh, so this scene now starts off where he's basically moving through the mist. Excellent, excellent, excellent. They're going through the mist, and then he gets to the depot. Great. All right. Now, the third scene is takes about a half hour to reach the still where I find Hattie tending a pot of mash. She offers. All right. So now this scene is going to be where it's two characters hanging out. I think a cousin drops in. We'll get to that. Gale notices Jack's name on his ID badge, so he sees his full name, but before he spots that, he gives him a nickname connected to his job. Hey, that's fantastic. That's one way to get it. That's one way to get it out there. I'm just saying, when I say don't use the full name all the time, it's just a character. Like when we're thinking of our friends, like I'm not like if I had a frame name like Mitch Mitchell, I'm not gonna always be like, oh, it's Mitch Mitchell. Well, actually, maybe Mitch Mitchell because that's a funny name. But like, Bill Withensworth. Like, I'm not gonna think in the narrative Bill Millionsworth. It's gonna be Bill. You know. All right, that's the only reason, because the narrative, the POV of the narrative must be through the emotional experiences and choices of your character. So, if a character does always call somebody John Jacobson, John Jacob Jingleheimer, in the narrative, that character might refer to that character as John Jacobs Jingleheimer, one of those, or John Jacobs, or John Jacob Jingleheimer. Depending on how they talk about them in the dialogue, it's possible that they might do that. Anyway, I mean. And then I think, there's only 3 scenes in the opening. And basically what this is, go brother, that. The opening of the chapter ultimately says, it's the birthday, I gotta go get stuff, also it's the reaping, and I'm going to meet my girl. I'm going to meet my girl. All right. Anyway. All right, now this is the challenge, because remember we set up I gotta go get supplies. It's my birthday and it's the reaping, and I gotta go meet my girl. So now we're gonna go meet the girl. If he had a persistent rash, he could be Itchy Mitchell. Itchy Mitch Mitchell. Fantastic name. Put that in the book for sure. I love that. All right. So calls it the friend of contempt. So now we are going to be dealing with the protagonist, dealing with the girlfriend. Want to hear something? Black ask as we venture deep into the woods. Of course, they're in the woods. Who's squawking at my birds? All right, now the cousin pops up. Hey, cuz. So, hey, I'm Haymitch. I'm Lenore Dove. Dove like the bird? No, dove like the color. What color's that? Same as the bird. Okay. Anyway, so now what's happening is, because it's the reaping, it's the birthday, and he's the one that basically takes care of his family, as per the Hunger Games as well. All right, we are seeing the middle of the chapter dealing with those ideas that were set up in the start. I lean towards shorter names, nicknames to help create lived-in relationships if it's someone I want to portray as known for a while by the POV character. That's a fantastic decision. A fantastic decision. And depending if you're doing first person, third person limited, or omniscient, it will dictate how it is presented. In omniscient, more likely than not, they're just going to refer to him as their real first name, usually. If it's their first person, it could literally be anything you want. They could just like, oh, this douche. If it is third person limited, you have a little bit more leeway. It could be the nickname, it could be their first name, or it could be a variation of it, or what have you. All right. Okay, so by the way, the middle is also only 2 scenes. As I reach the middle, I slip under the fence. Do you now? All right. This is they're hearing the song, and now we are learning about the reaping. Okay, so again, in the beginning of the chapter, the whole setup. Let's consider every chapter has an act 1, 2, and 3, right? So the act 1 of the chapter, the setup, birthday, reaping, girlfriend. Okay, and now we are the second scene in the middle. The challenge is talking about District 12, that it's poor. It's the Lord demands that we atone when we take things we do not own. Right? It's talking about the reaping. It's talking about why they have the reaping. It's talking about too rebellious. This is somebody they point out. They would be arrested if they were teenagers. That's a whole different story. They mentioned the peacekeepers. Again, because the reaping was mentioned in the opening, we are now exploring what that means and expanding on it. So how does that help you as a writer? When you're setting up your intros to a chapter, okay, you can mention an idea and then use the middle of the chapter to expand that on the idea. So instead of going, oh, happy birthday, Haymitch, thanks. Today is also the reaping. And by the way, the reaping, there's peacekeepers out there, and those peacekeepers are going to keep an eye on people because, you know, there was a rebellion. Now your intro is, you're doing too much. But if you slowly reveal information, then you're allowed to play with that information in a different context in the middle. And then you're allowed to reframe it at the end to resolve it or present the potential for resolution in a future chapter. But ultimately, this second area, the middle of the chapter, is basically like, happy birthday. I didn't say it was just because it was my birthday. What did I say? I don't even remember. Besides playing a crazy good mandolin. What is it? There was one other thing I wanted to point out about the middle, and then I want to jump to the... Okay, so the medal is handed to it. That's important because that comes up later. Snake kiss, 2 small rings are welded. It's beautiful. Of course it is. You gave it to me. At home, we have a beat up thing pass. I want to see if they talk about the Oh no, I think in the third act he mentions that he's in the thing much more than anyone else. Here it is. Okay. So this is still the challenge. This is still the middle of the book. In the beginning, we mention the Reaper, but we also mention that it is their birthday. Those are 2 important elements. Why? Because in this section in this scene, scene 6, which is still part of the middle, we are going to learn that this character actually offers to take 3 times the entries per year for their birthday to feed the family. So they get an extra, see, they get a year's supply of flour, sack underwear, and a brand new pocket knife with strict instructions. All right. And then basically what happens is, because he gets 20 choices, but this sets up that. Ma gives me my birthday presents, a year's supply of flour, sack, underwear, and a brand new pocket knife with strict instructions that the latter is not to be used for blah, blah, blah. I found it, blah, 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 flick, blah, 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 and Mom sold, blah, blah, blah. We don't need that. All right. All right, now Act 3 is going to be the resolution. So we're going to take all the information we discovered in the middle, and we're going to resolve it or show a potential for resolution. So I got to spare a few minutes. I got to go. And then we start seeing no more peace, blah, 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 blah. We see right? They're allowed to hold up the banners, but they could be arrested, all right? Peacekeepers, we're talking about them again because we brought them up. If you notice, the chapter is always evolving. It starts with an idea, then it sort of puts those ideas into discussion or debate or conflict, tension. It's either emotional, mental, spiritual, or physical. It could be any one of those or any mix of all of those in one way or another. The main character, the protagonist, goes into the apothecary. You always need an apothecary in your books. I just want to put that out there. All right. And then buttonhole. All right. So what happens here is it starts off basically saying no one's at the line is pretty thin right now for the reaping. And the peacekeepers are sort of organizing them. And then finally he does his store stuff, and then he comes out of his store. It goes next door, blah, blah, blah. So the first scene of the third part of the chapter is getting the supplies. Remember the beginning? I mentioned that he's like, I'll be back. I'm going to the stores. I'll get the supplies. I'll make sure we got everything. We've taken care of that. We've resolved that setup in the end of the book. And now we go to the final scene of the book. The final scene of chapter 1. And this is going to resolve, or at least present the potential for resolution for the reaping. So this last scene in chapter 1 is all about the reaping and their birthday. We get the confirmation that it's definitely 5 years ago. The war in Panama. He talks about why there was a overthrow thing. He talks about that the 12-year-olds gather in front, and there's a whole thing with every child gets one vote unless, right? I was mistaken. This is where we learn that he has the 20 slips, or the protagonist has the 20 slips of paper with their name on it in the reaping, because they choose to get an extra thing of a flour and collectible each month, and that's the cost of justice. Anyway, the crowd thickens. Yeah, so it's a potential for solution, because what's going to happen here is, spoiler, it's coming up, everybody. All right, happy birthday, yeah, bumps the shoulder, who cares, right? That's the sort of energy, and then it happens. All right, Gem of Panama, mighty city. We're supposed to sing along, but instead we mumble whatever, ba 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 ba, right? And then they pick the name, and it's not that character's name. Oh, thank God, thank God. Then something else happens. What? It ends with them calling another character's name, right? It's the boy's turn. And the first gentleman who gets to accompany the ladies is Wyatt Cowell. I haven't seen Wyatt around school for a while, which probably means he hit 18 and started in the mines. I don't really know him. Blah, 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 blah. As Juice handed back in the ball, it seems too much to hope. But what happens? Woodpine Chance is called, the second person, and they run off. And as they run off, basically, he gets his head shot. He gets shot. So, here's the thing. Haymitch doesn't get chosen here. Okay? But the second choice was killed, so they're going to have to do another choice, which means the next chapter is going to pay attention to that. So this is the potential for a resolution. The reaping itself wasn't resolved by the end of this chapter, but the potential for a resolution was presented, meaning someone was killed, which means they are definitely going to do it. All right. I'm going to go into this first scene, just the first scene, because it's, what is it, like, I think it's only maybe like 600. Yeah, 600 words. So the first scene's 600 words. We're going to actually break this down. And why? Because even though a chapter should have a beginning, middle, and end, every scene should have a beginning, middle, and end. What does that mean? The scene itself should set up what the scene is. Then there should be a conflict or problem. Doesn't have to be somebody getting shot. It could just be a discussion. It could be a disagreement. It could be whatever. It could be positive. It could be negative. It just, something needs to happen. Whatever the information is in the setup needs to be pushed on, and then we resolve it forward. Before I get into that, let's just summarize what the deal is. So the beginning of this chapter sets up it's somebody's birthday. The reaping is today, and they have to go get stuff, and they want to hang out with their girl. The middle of the chapter then challenges that. We meet the girlfriend. We meet the cousin also. They are on their way to go get the supplies, and we learn that, their situation with their family, and, they're officially at that age where it's like, woo, it's getting pretty hefty out there in the in the picking. And then the third and final part of the chapter basically resolves that. We understand how much they love each other, meaning the protagonist and the girlfriend. We understand what the protagonist is sacrificing. We're learning who they are through that sacrifice, what they're sacrificing to make sure the family has extra supplies each year. And then, of course, we see that the reaping is serious, that they take it seriously. But we also learn that the reaping is based on, there was a rebellion. All right, so when you're reading, that's what you're looking for. That's the first thing you should be looking for. So read your books, have fun. But if you go back, basically what you're doing is, how I broke up the beginning, middle, and end is the beginning really does feel like it's just setting stuff up. And then once something starts happening and we start pushing on things and we are now introduced to evolved information from the intro, then we know we're in the middle. So as soon as the character left, that's how I knew. Because at the end of the beginning of this chapter, right here, the mist begins. So the whole point of the opening was done. And now we are moving into a new world. So the second part of a chapter usually feels like a new world. Whether it's circumstantial, physical, mental, whatever the case is, the middle of a chapter really should feel like a new world, if that makes sense, okay? And then, of course, the third part should feel like we are trying to resolve what was discovered in the middle and introduced in the beginning. All right, so let's talk about it. Happy birthday! The upside of being born in the reaping day is that you can sleep late on your birthday. It's pretty much downhill from there. A day of school hardly compensated for the terror of the name drawing. Excellent. We're mentioning the reaping, day of the reaping, being born on the reaping. Okay, so that's all birthday stuff, right? Actually, you know what I could do? So it doesn't blow up. All right. Okay. Even if you survive that, nobody feels like having cake after watching two kids being hauled off to the Capitol for slaughter. I roll over and pull the sheets over my head. Great. Happy birthday, my 10-year-old brother. We learn that the character has a brother, Sid. All right, couple things. This is where I personally, remember, author voice is what you like and don't like. When I'm reading, I don't care that this is here. That's fine. If you want to do it, it's also fine. For me, this feels disconnected, and it's supposed to be in first person. Rarely, while I'm laying in bed, when my brother woke me up, did I go, oh, it's my brother, Angelo. Right? So for me, that takes me out. I wasn't like, oh, it's my brother. It's my 16-year-old brother, Angelo. Like, for me, I don't like to disconnect the narrative from what the character themselves are experiencing. Again, there's nothing wrong with this. If that's how you want to write it. It's a choice. But analyzing these chapters helps you discover what you would like to present in your author voice. And that's one of the choices I make. I try to make sure that if there's any aside information or this This is exposition. All right? If there is any assigned information or exposition that feels narrative and not character-driven, I personally try to remove it. Anyway. None of the above. You don't want to live in your novel's world, bro? Come on. You don't want to hang with your protagonist? Come on. You don't want to grab a meal with your antagonist? Oh, look, it's SB. All right. You said you wanted to get to the woods today. All right. So writers, when you hear people say you need to get to the serious as soon as possible. All right? To get to the serious, to get to the real information as soon as possible, you have to look at this. We are 98, we're not even 100 words in, okay? And we know the protagonist's name is Haymitch. We know that it's their birthday. We know they were born on Reaping Day. We know that it is Reaping Day. We have a position, a day off school hardly compensates for the terror of the name drawing. That is a position. We are learning who the character is. I don't know. I'd hang with your protagonist. I like your protagonist. Even if you survive that, this is also still position. But and then we learn that he has a brother. But more importantly, this sets up what is going to be ultimately challenged in the middle. You said you wanted to get to the woods at daylight. What is the middle of the chapter? Going into the woods. Definitely don't want to spend my hanging with the protagonist would be fun too. So within 100 words, we already understand what the chapter is going to be about and what it's going to explore. It's going to explore the birthday element. It's going to explore the reaping day, and it's going to explore going into the woods. Now let's keep going. It's true, I'm hoping to finish my work before the ceremony. So we know the ceremony is here, and we know that Haymitch has responsibilities. So I can devote the afternoon to two things I love best: wasting time and being with my girl. All right. So do I think it should be this telling? Not really. Like for me personally, this is a little aggressive with telling, but we are now 700. Oh, we are 700. It's 700 characters. We're now 130 words in, okay? And we already know what the chapter's about because we already know it, right? We read it. We know what's going on. So we know that the middle is going to explore the reaping, how Haymitch feels about his birthday, the fact that he has to take care of his family and his cousins out there. And of course, he's got to go to the woods and he wants to spend time with his girl. All that's set up right in the beginning. My mom makes those things. All right, we know he has a ma. And we know her position. We learn the mother's position. Well, we're told about the mother's position. Since she regularly announces that no job is too hard or dirty or tricky for me, and even the poorest people can scrap up a few. So this is saying they're poor. So we are learning that. We're not even off the first page. I think this is still... Right? Is this the first page? I don't know if it's the first page, but... It's 200 words. This is probably the end of the first page. But given the dual occasions... I think she'll allow for a bit of freedom as long as my work is done. It's the game makers who might ruin my plans. All right, so we're learning another position. We learned a couple of positions, right in this opening. In this 200-word opening, we learn a few positions. We learn that it's Haymitch's birthday. This is how you have to look at your writing. I don't think you should be as aggressive like this. This is just straight up like, I'm going to explain things to you kind of narrative. And again, it's your author's voice that needs to be involved in that. All right. I like to sort of move into things, but I write literary fiction, which is not necessarily better or worse. It's just, it sits a little bit more in the prose, sits a little bit more in the characters. It's traditionally more character driven, and it plays with the themes and deeper life kind of elements. This is commercial fiction, and that is why this is working. Commercial fiction is just transparent prose, and that's what a transparent prose looks like. They don't really leave a lot of room for you as the reader to participate and or piece together things, right? And there's nothing wrong with that. If this is your goal, to basically get the information out, this is why Suzanne Collins makes money. She got literally the entire chapter was taken out, and stakes are already there. Pa isn't mentioned yet. Ma, his girlfriend, the 10-year-old brother, the fact that he's already afraid. We already understand that he's afraid. His position was revealed quickly. This is good stuff. I'm writing dual POV, first person limited. First person limited. I think one thing I love most about it is how each POV character describes the same person differently based on their experience. I think that's fantastic, Ashley. And also very important to distinguish when you're writing in first person with two POVs, because the voices need to be so specific and so distinctive. So that's really cool that you're doing that. And it's a nice little touch. Very cool. My antagonist is despicable and evil. And my protagonist is always in horrible situations. That world is much more dangerous than real life. Yeah, but your protagonist, like if you got to hang out with your protagonist, just like to hang out with them, it's not every day is supposed to be chaos. The book world, right? Like when you're reading a book, it's like the day stuff is happening, I don't think I'd want to do that regarding any of my story ideas. I mean, I feel that. All right, let's keep going. All right. I'm up. I'll roll straight off the. I roll straight off the mattress. This might actually be the middle. Okay. I'm gonna break it up just so we could sort of like look at it. All right. This will be scene 1. I may be wrong that this is the beginning of the middle for the first scene, but because we are now in the new world, what does that mean? It means the ordinary world of the scene is Haymitch is in bed and they're waking up and trying to get him to get up, and he's like, eh. Now he's deciding to get up. So that would be the new world, right? The new circumstances, no longer sitting in bed. All right, I roll straight off the mattress onto the floor. That's how I wake up every day, by the way. All right, so let's challenge things. Okay. Sleep late on your birthday. All right. We know that he's sleeping, and now we are challenging that. They're getting right out of bed. Okay, floor and pull on. Pair of shorts made from government. All right, so we know this person's poor. Poor. Okay. The world, courtesy of the capital. The words. I don't know. Across my butt. The word courtesy of the capital end up stamped across my butt. Mima wastes nothing. Fantastic. All right. That's a position for the mother, by the way. Widowed young. The pa is dead. Of course, the pa is dead. All right. Pa in the coal mine fire. She raised Sid and me by taking in the laundry every day. All right, we're learning a little bit. It's important to learn. All right. She's raised. Interesting. The hardwood ashes in the fire pit are saved for lye soap. Okay, world building. Eggshells get grounded to fertilize the garden. Someday these shorts will be torn into strips and woven into a rag. Ugh. What is this? Oh, look at that. All right. Keep it going. Let's keep it going. Interesting. Hey, you're not popping up on the thing for me to put your comment on, but what's up, Kudro? How'd you say it? Kudrui. Kudrui. I'm probably butchering that, and I apologize. Sand flow stayed for 200 joules. All right. I finished dressing and tossed Sid back in bed into his bed. There we have brotherly love, where he burrows right down into the outback. My mom's already stirring the stream. Stick, her muscles straining. Well, how do we know her muscles are straining? All right, so here's an interesting thing. Again, I would almost argue this is head hopping. Because, like, how would Haymitch know that her muscles are straining? Maybe because they're flexing. I don't know. But the straining part would be internal. That's something I don't know. But, she's Susan Collins. No one's going to flag that. As she flips a pair of miner's overalls. Okay, she's only 35. P.S. This is not character development. I get asked this a lot, especially from clients. Is character development describing your character? No. If you say your character's 6'2", or 6 foot, God forbid, the character's age, all that is not technically character development. Character development is learning their positions. Okay, it's learning the internal stuff, the who they are, what motivates them. It's watching their arcs grow or shrink, depending if it's a negative or a positive. If it's flat, that's one thing or another. But describing your characters is less character development and just sort of there. It's just description. But I will say this. If you describe a character that has, say, 4 arms, or like if we were reading Star Wars and I can't remember his name, but the guy with the he's green and he has like all the tentacle head hairpiece, that would be world building. It wouldn't be character development, but it would be world building because we are learning about the species types. Mom catches sight of me. Again, I feel like this would be head hopping, but whatever. Their character, not features and ages. Yeah, so basically if we're learning about who they are, their character, excellent, over their features and age, that would definitely work. Her muscles probably flexing. Yeah, that's what that is the argument we can make, right? The flexing with the weight is. But how do we know they are straining though? Because I could flex picking something up that is heavy but not heavy-ish, But that's neither here nor there. I will always stand on this. Write what you got to write. It's a creative medium. It's just, again, for me and my author voice, that is something right here. This is something I would be like, this may be too deep into another character for me. Especially this. Ma catches sight of me. The only reason I think this works is because of me. It's, clearly she's looking at him. Happy 16. So we know he's 16. All right. So why is this a challenge? Well, happy birthday, Haymitch. So the setup is it's your birthday. The challenge is we now know he's 16. Okay. So remember, the middle of scenes and or chapters takes what we learned in the intro and then expands on it. And that is what vague but informative looks like. That's what seeding looks like. We seeded that it's his birthday, and now we know that it is his 16th birthday. That is stronger writing. Not that I'm a fan of Suzanne Collins' writing, but this is neither here nor there, right? Because I like Game of Thrones kind of writing. But this is good writing because instead of saying, happy 16th birthday, Haymitch, you're finally waking up. I know it's the reaping. Like, that would be really bad writing because it'd be just too much information. That's why vague but informative is your friend. You'll give enough information to understand what's happening, but not enough information where the reader doesn't have questions. The vague but informative element here is, happy birthday, Haymitch. I wonder how old he is. And then by the middle of the scene, we know how old he is. Fantastic writing. Fantastic. And that's something you should be thinking about. If she poor, maybe she's skinny and... maybe. Sinewy. Oh, sinewy. I love it. Okay. Happy sauce on the stove. Thanks, Ma. I find a saucepan and stewed plums and scoop some on my bread. Ooh, plums on bread. If anyone does that, let me know. Let me know how that tastes. Plums on bread. I do like myself sandwiches. Sometimes I have a bread sandwich where you take 2 slices of bread and a third slice and put it in the middle. Fantastic. All right. Okay. Need you to fill the cistern today. All right. Excellent. 1 second. Okay. Sorry. Family. All right. Here goes. This is great. All right. And why is this great? Because this is setting up more of the chapter. This still constitutes as the intro to the chapter, even though this is the middle of the first scene. We are now understanding that we're going to have to challenge this, but it's a nice surprise that one day from oh, sorry. Uno momento, por favor. All right, there we go. This is the problem that's going to basically be what he has to solve in the middle. It's the problem that comes up, right? Need you to fill the cistern. And also, if you notice, this is coming up in the middle of the first scene. So this constitutes as the middle of the first scene. This is good stuff. Cistern. We got cold water. That's a special barrel of pure rainwater she charges extra for because the clothes come out softer. But she uses our well water for most of the laundry. What with pumping and hauling, filling the cisterns a 2-hour job even with Sid soap. Can't it wait till tomorrow, Madra? I'm running low and I've got a mountain of wash to do. Interesting. Spell check is suggesting wash should be laundry. This is my argument with spell check. Remember, you are the author. You must maintain agency over the word choicing. So just because if you look at this, there is definitely, see how there's a little squiggly line under it? Okay, it's suggesting that wash is, consider changing to laundry. Remember, spell check, whatever variation of spell check you use, or grammar check, or whatever the case is, remember, you have to have agency on the choices because you are the author. So you don't always have to switch. There's a lot, by the way. There's a couple spots. Look, she's raised, right? She raised is the suggestion, but it's supposed to be the way the character's thinking in first person. She has, or she, right? The problem is, I think has isn't proper grammar, but it is proper for first person because it's thought in dialogue. So remember that. I'm running low and I've got a mountain of wash to do this afternoon. Then trying to hide my frustration. If the reaping's done by 1, and assuming we're not part of this year's sacrifice, I can finish the water by 3. All right, so this is technically the resolution. All right. You know what's interesting? I would argue that this is the end. So this sets up the potential for a resolution. You know, hey, can you do that? I got stuff I got to do. Can I wait till tomorrow? I'm running low. Fine. This afternoon then. So we know that it was set up in the beginning, not only in the first scene, but the beginning of the chapter. It's something that they have to take care of. Okay. And then trying to hide my frustration if the reaper's done by 1. And assuming we're not part of this year's sacrifice. That's funny. Character. That is character. So anything that develops a position or, you know, things like that. I can finish the water by 3 and still see me love. All right. So there you go. That's pretty interesting. So that's the opening scene. And as you can see, the opening scene does indeed have a beginning, middle, and end. And look at how much the beginning of the scene really fills up. Look at all that highlight. And then we challenge a lot of stuff. Okay. and then we resolve forward. And if you notice, resolutions don't always have to be massive. You know, it doesn't have to always be a lot of information. I'm not going to break down all of the other ones, but let's keep looking at it. So when I read books, this is something I do. I read the book for fun, or if I watch a movie, I'll watch it for fun, and then I go back and I sort of analyze it. And this is one of the things I'm looking for. I'm trying to figure out what is the beginning of the chapter, the middle of the chapter, the end of the chapter. Then I look at the beginning and I break it up into scenes. How many scenes are in the beginning? How many scenes are in the middle? So forth and so forth. Sometimes I'll actually break up the scenes first, just so I could see what they look like. And then I go back and I go, but what is the beginning, middle, and end? The next thing I do is I sit in a scene and I break up that scene into a beginning, middle, and end. Why am I doing this? Because I want to see how much or how little setup you find in books. The other thing, though, is anytime I see a point of interest, there's a lot. Yeah, there is a lot going on in the first. There's a lot of telling, but it is commercial fiction, right? So it's supposed to be transparent. It has a lot more telling. So one of the things that I'm trying to make sense of is any point of information that pops up. So let's see. We already have those highlighted, but the capital for slaughter, all right? So 2 kids being hauled off for capital slaughter. This might be something I think about. Oop. All right. I roll over my sheet. Who cares about that? My shoulder, the rooster. You said be a rooster. Oh, that's funny. So I can devote the afternoon to 2 things I love best, which is wasting time. All right, that's okay. My ma, that's a piece of information. Regularly announces no job dirty, whatever. The game makers, Haymitch. Okay, so the only piece of information I missed in the setup was this, but this doesn't necessarily set up the chapter itself. This sets up the book. And these are things I look for. So if I'm looking through this, words courtesy of the capital, this is something I would mark. Because that's anytime you mention something of note, you want to see as an analyst, as a developmental editor, is it going to pay off later? Whether it's the next chapter or 4 chapters later or whatever. All right, you're always trying to make sense of important information. This, the hardwood ash in the fireplace are saved for lye soap. You know what's crazy? I'm going to mark this. I haven't read this book. I've only read this first chapter now, right? There's a small chance, and if anyone's read this book, let me know if I'm right on this. I'm just making a judgment call on it. There's a small chance that lye soap or hardwood ash in the fire pit are saved for lye soap and might come up later. It might. There's a small chance, just like eggshells, the eggshell, because this is like, why do we need to know this? Well, it's world building, Thomas. All right. But it's not moving things forward. And maybe it's building the world, and that is a good argument to stand on. But at the end of the day, how does this pay off later? So if you're writing commercial fiction, your goal is to say the least amount of stuff in the clearest possible way that has the biggest effect, right? The biggest return. If you're writing literary fiction, you can play a little bit, but you still want you want readers to start being able to participate and sort of get ideas and make sense of things, right? Some days, well, that part isn't interesting. Let's see. Piece of cornbread. We don't actually really know about that. From the capital flower, dark stuff. This probably won't be important, but I think the miners, they probably, that's going to be important. The father dying in the mines might come back and be important. There is a small chance that will happen. All right. Saucepan, none of that's important. All right, so these are things I'm looking for. I'm looking for elements. Why? Because I want to see how much they seed things. And I want to see how much things pay off as one might say, as the novel unfolds. Okay, it's always important to look at these things. I'll just do this real quick. A special barrel of pure rainwater. I don't know if this is going to end up being important, but again, not everything has to be. So that's something to keep in mind. Mist, that might be important. Why? Because he's used to and comfortable being in mist. So maybe that's an advantage. Again, I haven't read the book, but to me, like if I'm writing, like how does the character's comfortability within mist influence him in any way? Is it a natural aspect of training, meaning like he'll be fighting people and they'll be in the mist and ultimately he'll be like, oh, I got this. Like he has an advantage. So, you know, the fifth Hunger's game. Well, that's important to know. I don't know. It's actually lowercase. All right. All right. Twice as many kids. All right, that we're going to have to know. See, all this is important. This is important, right? Is anyone else seeing commercials? Well, yeah, they're the ads keep popping up. Feel free to watch them so I get some AdSense or skip them. It's up to you. It's up to you. I'm even getting them. I haven't had any commercials. Yes, I am. Yeah, again, I apologize if the commercials are popping up. I thought I had them on the limit, the least amount of commercials. If they keep popping up, I apologize. Maybe the next lives, I'll just make it where there are no ads available, and then once the live happens, then I'll pop the ads on. But again, I make a couple dollars on it, so I usually only see them on the rewatch. Yeah, I know they're supposed to just be on the rewatch. I don't know why they keep popping up now, but I saw one on TV, but I refreshed laptop, so I deliberately caused them to pop up. Oh, I love you so much. Flowers. Do 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 do. This is what happens when you do nice things. You hear the heartbeat. All right. You hear my heart pounding. Okay. So again, this is another thing I do. I go through and I'm looking for elements within the page to see how they are connecting and how they slip in, because seeding is invisible, right? And seeding is ultimately, here's an example. Do you watch a movie or a television show and then something happens and you're like, oh, I know exactly what's going to unfold? That's technically seeding. It's just so blatant because it's television and it has to be blatant. They have to be like, he poisons drinks all the time. And then there's a shot of like just the soda sitting on the table. And you're like, oh, he's going to be poisoned when he drinks the soda. That's TV, right? But film might have a little bit more leeway with that. So in writing, it's little mentions of stuff and how you mention it that dictates if it's seeding or not. So it's very good. I understand you making money. Just wanted to make sure I didn't turn that feature on myself accidentally. Yeah, it's on me. It's on me. I apologize. So again, that is something I'm looking for. The other thing I'm analyzing when I'm analyzing is pace, One second. Just going to my sheet. Going to my sheet. All right, pacing is so important, okay? You got to look at... I'm just going to ask because I really overthink, but how do you even know if you're being too vague or too informative? That's a great question, that guy, Silver. That's a fantastic question. All right. So how do you know if you are being too vague or too informative? Too informative means that you have explained the thing. Let's do this. I'll give you a very simple example of what explaining the thing is. Okay? All right. Davis sat up on his couch or his chair, leaning forward, thinking about his mother, Bellezza. All right, I'm going to shrink this down a little bit. Beep, 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 beep. All right, so Davis sat up on his chair, leaning forward and thinking about his mother, Melissa. Okay, so this is too much information. And the reason is, and you would think it isn't, because it's important information, you would think, right? But the way you would look at this on your second draft, if this is your 0 or first draft, do not worry about this. In fact, I would implore you to go ham on your 0 and first drafts. Get the information out, over explain things, do it all. Why? Because now you can go back and say, Davis Saturn's been leaning forward and thinking about his mother. I don't need this. This is not important. Why? Because we will learn his mother's name. When? When it's important. That's how you look at when and where to use information. Her life had been hard these past 3 years. This could be useful, or you could utilize it for something later and allow it to be an emotional experience between Davis and his mother, or Davis and his siblings, or Davis and his partner, or right? This is an opportunity to show character living and breathing on the page. But again, if you're going to use something like that, fine, but don't do this. Remove the second part. Okay? So, being too vague or too informative. This is a good medium. This is a good area to be. We know that his name is Davis. We know that he's thinking about his mother. We know that his behavior is not happy. It's forlorn. But then we have some context. So this is a show sometimes tell. Her life had been hard these past 3 years. That is enough information to understand what's going on with Davis. All right. Now, how do we know if it's being too vague? Let's take the same thing. The same. Yeah. All right. All right. Now, if it's the same exact story, we are being too vague. Why? Because all we're learning is that something, Davis is doing something. I would actually remove this. I'm going to give you an even more insane example. Davis set up in his chair, leaning forward. TV. TV. So this is too vague. And the reason is because we are not learning anything, and it is mostly descriptive and choreography. So that is a big tell when you're looking at a first draft and you're like, I got to go into the second draft. You're looking for when it's just descriptive and action. All right. The big thing that we're also learning is that Davis isn't experiencing or making choices. Remember, plot is what needs to happen no matter what, and story is how the plot unfolds through the emotional experiences and choices of your character. So in this situation, Davis sat up in his chair leaning forward is just a thing happening, but nothing is happening there. This is how, if we say, and thinking about his mother, now he is experiencing something. You could also show that in different ways, you know. All right. The TV filtered light over his face is just a thing happening. It's descriptive, and the volume had been set lower. We don't really learn anything about Davis, his experience, or a choice that he's making, nor is plot evolving. And then he sat alone in his house. Again, it's not through his experience. The room alive in the crackle of fire in his small fireplace. We are not necessarily learning anything, and nothing is happening. That is too vague. And again, too informative is when you're taking away the chance or the opportunity to explore detail and information through characters. I hope that helped. I really do. That was a great question. Really good question. Thank you for that. I love how you say forward without the R. Forward? Oh, forward. Forward. Yeah, it's my accent. I'm sorry. I'm from New York. I don't even say water. What is it? Water? Yeah, water or water? I say water. Water. All right. Greetings. I came late, but baby girl's down. Hello, Angel Faye. Also, had been this week due to a small kidney stone that been into. Oh my God. Forget the writing. Your health is more important than the what are you talking about? Well, sending you love, my friend. Sending you love. Yeah, absolutely. Thoughts and prayers, love and light, my friend. Woo! I had grapple. He said, "Yeesh." Yeah, oof. Yeah. My friend suffers from those, and he's like, I would rather be shot in the leg than have to pass a stone. All right, real quick. Oh, I have one kid with an East Coast accent and one without because we moved west. One of those kids could be an actor in a movie. The other one has an East Coast accent. The note I got the most when I auditioned was, you think you could be more Midwestern? And I go, what do you mean? They're like, well, your accent, it's very thick. I go, is it really? And they go, yes. Yes, you sound like you're from New York. And I go, I do. Good times. All right. Let's talk about it. So I want to talk, the other things that I like to look for is pace. Pace is so important. I want to see what the pace looks like in a written channel. I'm only going to do this opening beat, and I'm going to show you what pace looks like, okay? Thank you so much for the explanation. Of course, and thank you for visiting and hanging out and watching the episode. It's my honor. Trust me, I do these lives for everyone to have a choice and an opportunity to ask questions, and that was a really good question, a really strong question. All right, I'm just going to look at this, and we're going to talk about pace. I analyze pace. Pace is the speed at which information is presented to the reader. Now, pace comes in many forms and influences many things. For one, each sentence can have a fast or slow pace. Each passage can be fast and slow. What does that mean? It means you could have fast-paced sentences in a slow-paced passage. Or in this case, movement. So a sentence is a movement, a passage is a movement, and a scene is a movement, right? These are all beats and stuff like that. Oh yeah, bloop that beard. That's right, you gotta bloop that beard, bloop that like button. That's right, every time you bloop that beard, I promise you, the YouTube algorithm says thank you. All right, so again, a sentence can be fast or slow. A total passage can then be fast or slow. And then, of course, a scene can be fast and slow. Just like a chapter can be fast or slow. Just like chapters within a concession can make it a fast or slow experience. Right now, the only thing I'm looking for this example is we're going to be looking at the pace of the sentences and the passages within the scene itself. But I do, and I'm not going to do it today, but I do analyze the length of chapters and how they work with each other, and I do analyze the length of scenes. But right now I'm going to show you how I analyze pace. All right. So happy birthday, Haymitch. 2 points of information. That counts as that's fast pace. 2 points of information. Fine. We get it. Boom. Technically, And I'll be honest with you, you could make an argument that this is one piece of information, which is it's Haymitch's birthday. So let's do that. Haymitch's birthday. All right, so that's one piece. If you want, maybe I'll do this. Will that help or confuse? That might get help. All right, let's see what that looks like. All right, this is another sentence. The upside of being born on reaping day is that you can sleep late on your birthday. I'd argue that that is one. Why? Because reaping day is one piece of information. The upside of being born on reaping day is that you can... Let's argue that it's two, but it's still fast-paced. All right. Next. It's pretty much downhill from here. One piece of information. So this is 3 fast-paced sentences in a row. This is a fast-paced passage. I'm going to tell you right now, this is a slow-paced passage. Why? Because it's multiple sentences in a row, and that means more information, and it's going to be a slower experience. All right, a day off school, Harley compensates for the terror of the name drawing. That is technically one, but I'm going to add 2 just for the fun of it because it's a day off school, Harley. A day off school is technically one. No, I'm going to go with 1. I'm going with 1. Now, you might be saying, but Thomas, that sentence is long. But that isn't what dictates the pace. Pace is dictated by the information presented to the reader. But Thomas, the upside of being born is technically information. No, the idea or the element is pace. Even if you survive that, nobody feels like having cake after watching 2 kids being hauled off to the Capitol for slaughter. Even if you survive that, that's 1. Nobody feels like having cake. That's after watching 2 kids being... I would argue that's 3. And then, of course, I roll over and pull the sheets over. That's 1. All right. So, we know that this first passage is fast for obvious reasons. This second one, I'd actually argue that it's medium pace. It's 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 points of information. Then we look at the next one. Happy birthday. Happy birthday, kid. Son of a... All right. My 10-year-old brother. Okay. Happy birthday. My 10-year-old brother, Sid. That's technically 1. Gives my shoulder a shake. That's 1. You should be your... You said be your rooster. That's 1. You said you wanted to get to the woods at daylight. That's also 1. This is a fast pace. Looking over here at my screen where the video is. This is a fast-paced passage because there's only 3 points of information. It's very simple and straight to the point. So it's fast, medium, fast. This is going to be... It's true. That's 1 piece. I'm hoping to finish my work before the ceremony. That's 1. So I can devote the afternoon to 2 things I love best. It's 2. Wasting time and being with my girl. That's 4 pieces of information. You could argue it's 3, but I'm going to go with 4. Why? Because I'm hoping to finish my work before the ceremony is 1. So I can devote my afternoon to 2 things I love. That's 2. And then it's wasting time. It's 3. And being with my girl. And that's 4. Okay. This is a slow pace sentence. That's what slow pace looks like. I hope you can read this. Let me do this. This will help. Does that make it easier for you to see? Is it easier to see with the yellow, or is it easier to see like this? Let me know. I'll fix it. I'll fix it. Let me know and I'll fix it for you. If it's easier with the yellow, I'll put the yellow back. All right. Where are we? Boop. All right. My mom makes indulging in either of these challenges. These are challenged since she regularly announces that no job is too hard or dirty or tricky for me, and even the poor... Okay, so my mom makes indulging in either of these a challenge is 1. Since she regularly announces that no job is too hard or dirty or tricky for me is 2. and even the poorest people can scrape up a few pennies to dump their misery on somebody else is 3. This is a very slow pen. Yes, because it was too yellowish. All right, perfect. Thank you for that. Okay. And then, which is interesting. This is 3 points of information, and this is 4 points. And this is 30 words, and this is 44 words. Again, the length of the sentence itself and how many words it is isn't technically pace. Pace is specifically the information we are learning within that sentence. All right, but given the dual occasion of the day, that's 1, I think she'll allow for a bit of freedom as long as my work gets done. I'm going to say that's 2. I'm going to argue that's 2. And then, of course, it's the game makers who... That's 1. And then, of course, this is Whales Sid. The sun's coming up. Okay. Blue works best for me. Part of dyslexia. Oh, that's an interesting fact. That's true. All right. So, a couple of things here. For anyone who doesn't know... Let's look at it. So this is obviously fast pace. This is 2, 3, 4, 5, plus 3 is 8. This is medium. Why do I think it's medium? Because, 8 is double. Like, this is 3. Like, if this was 4, I would also consider this pretty much fast pace. So I'm just doubling slow pace max to, you know what I'm saying? Like 8 is really touching it. Anything higher than 8, maybe that's a longer. All right. This is 3. This is 3 pieces of information. This is a fast pace, obviously. And then this is 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. This is a slow pace passage. And then boom, we get... So to answer anyone's question, if you're wondering, 1 to 4 is slow. 5 to 8, right, is medium. All right. 9, so 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 to 12 is slow. And then 13 and on is thick. If you're looking at pace information, that's how you really can tell it. So what is the secret? Well, let's look at what Susan... And then I'll look at my list and see if maybe this is the last thing I do. So what I do is I look at this and I look at what Suzanne Collins is doing with the rhythm. She starts you off, jumps you right into the story, then gives you a medium speed, then speeds it up again, and then lets us sit in a beat, and then she slows it down. She speeds it up again. Boom. It looks like too much info dumping in one chapter. It is too much info dumping in one chapter, but it is also commercial fiction, and that is ultimately what happens. However, as far as info dumping goes, I'm not sure, and I love you, Angel Faye. I'm not sure you're using info dumping in the correct way. Info dumping is usually when we're learning too much about a thing. So it's like, Sid, his brother, is 10 years old and grew up in the east side of West Harlem and has brown hair. Like, if all that comes into a passage, that's info dumping. If we're talking about information that we're learning when it comes to pace, that's not the same thing. This is technically plot. Happy birthday, Haymitch. That's plot. It's not info dumping. The upside of being born on Reaping Day is that you can sleep late on your birthday. That's a position. That's character development. And also because it's Reaping Day, that is plot. So we are learning plot and character development. That's good. That's a good sentence. It's pretty much downhill from there. That's a position. That's character development. That's not necessarily info dumping. We are not just getting tons of information. A day off school hardly compensates for the terror of the name drawing. That's position. That's character development. Even if you survive that, nobody feels like having cake after watching 2 kids being hauled off to the Capitol. Character development. It's a position. I roll over. That's plot. Why? Because plot is always going to be through the emotional experiences and choices of your character. That's an emotional choice. So this isn't so much info dumping as it is just focusing on what information we're learning to move things forward. This is actually a pretty strong. I'm not really a fan of the writing per se, but I understand why this book sells. Have you heard of unfinished show series called The 13th Darkness? I have not. Please inform me. I'd love to know. According to Pro Writing Aid, everything I write is slow pace. You know, Flowers, if you do the thing I just did, you'll be able to tell yourself without Pro Writing Aid if it is indeed slow or not. All right. Let me see. Let me look at what I got here. I got well, we went over motivations and flaws. We went over positions. I looked for that. We already talked about that. Character arcs is definitely something I would look into. I'm not going to show you here, only because I only did one chapter and I only did one scene of that chapter. What I would do is I'd actually write a summary, 3 to 4 sentences of what happened for a character. In this case, Sid, his summary for this chapter would literally just be woke up his brother and had a conversation with him. All right. Haymitch would be a little bit longer. Woke up on his birthday, doesn't really like the reaping, period. And then I'd write more sentences. He went off to help collect some items for his mother and met up with his girlfriend. They had a good time and they talked about his feeling. Now it's a longer sentence, but that's sort of like what I would do. I would just explain what each character is doing, and then for the next chapter I would do the same. And then once I get 3, 4, or even 5 chapters in, I'll look at them next to each other and I'll see if the character themselves is growing or developing. It is a developmental editor's sneaky technique. That's how they kind of read characters. According to Pro, everything I write is gibberish. Oh, Em, stop it, man. That's funny. For the sake of clarity, writing vocabulary definition time. What is commercial fiction novel as opposed to what? Sorry for my noob question. That's not a noob question, my friend. Actually, I'll leave that up. That's a great question. So at the end of the day, commercial fiction consistently shows what's known as transparent prose or window pane prose. So Brandon Sanderson, Suzanne Collins. It's ultimately anything that is very easy to understand. There is very little, if any, room for interpretation and or participation from the reader. The reader knows exactly what's going on, and it's not necessarily cinematic, but we know the person, we know the character's feelings, we know their wants and desires very quickly. This whole first scene is telling us everything we need to know before we even get to the end of, you know what I'm saying? Like, we're learning everything we need to know. So commercial fiction isn't necessarily it sells. It's just a style of writing where it is transparent writing and you're not really playing with the prose as much. You're not making them lyrical or purpley. You're not using what's known as minimalist prose, which is more like a Ernest Hemingway. He writes minimalist, where you're actually writing in a way that allows the reader to participate and also infer what is going on. So they're a part of the journey. That is the big difference. I hope that makes sense and I answered your question. I just want to look at my list. So I talked about character arcs. That is definitely something I do for developmental editing too. If I'm reading somebody's book, I break down basically a summary of what they did in each chapter, if they did anything at all. Setting, we could talk about setting. I honestly, if I'm looking at this, I would have the room more present. It's not very present. He is waking up, he rolls off the bed. The environment feels very flat to me. I hate to use that word because it's a very used up word. So instead of flat, let's say I feel like the environment is not present. It is not influencing the characters as much as it could, mostly because this whole first scene is I'm in bed. Then this next scene is I'm up and I'm talking to my mother. You know what I'm saying? And we're not really getting, like, I know they're in the house, maybe. like I know they're there. So again, why am I doing that? When I'm analyzing my own work, or if I'm analyzing like books like this, the reason I'm analyzing is because what I like and what don't I like. I want to influence my author voice. So I like letting the environment feel part of the theme, the tonality, the atmosphere, whatever it is that's going on in the scene. Do I think this is talking heads? It's less talking heads because it's more internal. There is some conversation. It's not enough for me if I'm writing the book. It's fine for whoever else writes the book. If I'm developmental editing somebody's stuff, I will make note of that. And if it's not their intentions to do that, then that's fine. But it's still my job. Because here's the point. When you hire an editor, you're actually hiring their vocabulary. You're hiring their narrative lexicon, let's say, how they approach writing, their eye for writing, their creative lens, right? And then there has to be this mix between the two. My job, though, when I get hired is to help improve your writing and give you choices, and then help and understand the novel, narratively speaking, so you have the tools so that if you come back to me, you're already ahead of the game. And now that saves us both time, right? Because you're improving as a writer, and then, right? So, my point being, developmental editing is important to say, is the environment working or not working for the scene? If not, that note would exist. Why are they in this location? Is this location doing anything? If not, why are they here? You know, like, those are the things you should be asking yourself when it comes to location. And then, I'm just scanning through my stuff. We could technically play with word choice. You know. We can look at word choice. Let's see. Let me look at my list. Boop, 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 boop. Search my list. We did characters. We did setting. There is a conflict. Great, great. Yeah, we did that. Beginning, middle, and end. POV, we did that. This is first person, if you didn't know. I believe it's present tense. Yeah, upside of being born. It's pretty much downhill from here. My 10-year-old gives. This is present tense. Yeah, whatever. All right. I think we did good today. We did an hour. All right. There you go. I analyzed Sunrise on the Reaping, and I hope I was giving a little bit more insight into how pace works, what a beginning, middle, and end should look like. The fact that this chapter is the first chapter and it's 6,820 words should tell you that chapter length doesn't matter, just that the chapter is doing its job. My final analysis is, I honestly believe this chapter could have been broken up into 3 chapters. Honestly. I feel that would have improved the pace and allowed us to sit in certain beats a little longer. Like the moment when Haymitch is talking to his love, Miss Dove. I think they could have had more going on internally and externally. They kiss a couple times. Not that that's, it's more. I just think because this chapter was already hefty, those scenes had to be rushed a little bit. But again, that would be my choice as an author, and that is something you have to make sense of. Doesn't matter how many chapters your book is, and it doesn't matter how long those chapters are, as long as they're doing their job. Now, you can get into the ridiculous. If your book is 300,000 words, and you're in this belief that everything on the page is working, it may not be, and that's why you need to get a second opinion, whether you get beta readers or alpha readers, because sometimes information, like what Angel Faye was talking about, info dumping, isn't necessarily positive. It could be just ballooning the book up, when in reality you could see that stuff and maybe allow that stuff to move and develop and expose, or be a revelation throughout scenes that are more emotional, and you could earn those things more. A lot of times there are chapters that sort of are stepping stones that aren't needed. For example, if two characters like, I'm hungry, we should go get groceries, you know, and they're like, yeah, let's do it. And then like the next chapter is them looking for their keys. And then the next chapter is like them getting to the car, getting in the car, turning the car on. Then the next chapter is them driving. And then the next chapter is them getting to the store. And then the next chapter is them in the store. Some of those chapters could be taken out. In fact, it could be like, oh man, I'm so hungry. I think we need to get food. Next chapter could literally be them at the store. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes we could cut stuff. Because if it's not doing what a chapter needs to do, which is a fragment of the macro narrative, and or has a beginning, middle, and end, and or is moving stuff forward or progressing things, you know that it needs to maybe be removed. I think for the as opposed to what row, literary fiction, yeah, okay, literary fiction and yeah, okay. I mentioned minimalists, right? So yeah, this is a fair question. Yeah, so if there is commercial fiction, there is literary fiction, which is my style of writing, and that is where the pros themselves are doing a lot of the work. They are part of the reading experience and not invisible. They are very much on the page. They carry the weight of the character's emotional experience, and usually, if not always, literary fiction allows for it to be more character-driven, though it doesn't mean it can't be plot-driven. So I hope that answers your question. All right, we got a poll today. The poll is: Would you rather? Would you rather? And we have 12 votes, but I believe there are more people watching, so feel free to vote. We have: Would you rather live in your novel's world, which is at 42% currently? Hang with your protagonist, 42% currently. Grab a meal with your antagonist, 0%. I'm going to be honest. This is the one I would choose. I would love to have a meal with my antagonist. I'm just saying. Trade lives with the love interest. I mean, it depends. It really does. All right. So before we go into that, I am going to... I did a very funny thing. So somebody... I really wish I remember who. I think it was M. M might have recommended it. Maybe. I'm not sure. Somebody recommended that I pre-record my pitch because, you know, I talk, so it's like a break for me. So I'm going to play a short video that is a pre-recording of my pitch. And as you know, every live, I have to do the pitch. I'm always bugged and pushed and bothered by the people in my life to be like, you got to tell people about stuff. And it's the thing I hate the most. I hate having to be like, yo, I have stuff. So I pre-recorded it. I'm going to hit the play. I will be back shortly. Then we will do the poll. We will do the poll. And then once we do the poll, then I'll answer some of your questions. Okay, here you go. I'll be right back. Also, different color shirt. Am I right? Bloop that beard and bloop that like button. Yep, every like, comment, and share tells the YouTube algorithm that you're enjoying this channel and want to see more of it. And if the algorithm knows you like this channel, it'll keep you up to date on when my videos are out. But it'll also tell you when my lives are going. That's right. I do lives every Saturday and Sunday. Saturdays are always real-time writing examples, and Sundays are the Write a Book With Me series from concept to completion. It's a lot of fun, and I'm a developmental editor and a writing coach, so if you have questions, you can ask them in real time. I do the lives for you as an opportunity for you to have a free resource to ask questions. If you didn't know, I also have books available. That's right. I have a book on outlining, but if you're a pantser, the first half of this book is dedicated to understanding narrative movement, flow, and just narrative overall. The outliner in you, or outliners out there, the second half is focused on the 27 plot point outline, which is my channel's specialty. Also, I have Death of a King. This is my epic fantasy, book 1 of 5. It is only available on Patreon and Substack. Patreon is the scribe tier. Substack, you just join, and you could read the books. I release the chapters once a week. I'm already ahead by a lot. But when you get the chapters, it's the release of the 0th, 1st, and 3rd drafts before the polish. The whole point of this series is to show you the process behind the writing so you can watch it evolve and elevate, and I explain my choices and behaviors as a writer. Then I give you an educational understanding of why I did what I did to help you with your own writing. Also, this is a noir book. This is not the cover of the book. It's just there for the image, but I do look nice with that hat on. This book is also available on Patreon and Substack. However, I will say it's only the zero draft, but I still explain my process and then give educational feedback to help you with your writing. If you didn't know, I have this book. If you're a writer or you just want to be successful in general in the entertainment industry, including being a writer, this is the foundation for longevity. Book 1 of 5. Speaking of, book 2, Finding Solutions with Talent, is the second book in the series. It continues to add to the evolution of the education. It's a fun series. It basically is, if you hired me as a consultant, this is the stuff I would teach you. Boom! Oh, by the way, if you didn't know, I have a YouTube membership. You'll get a growing narrative course called How to Write a Narrative. It's a weekly course I publish on Thursdays, and I break down the writing process of writing out your narrative. It's a full masterclass. The goal is to get it to 25 videos. I'm flying through it. I'm adding them every day. Once that's done, I'm going to start a new masterclass. If you're already a member, you'll be able to get it. P.S. If you're on Patreon or Substack and you are a member there, you too can get the How to Write a Narrative course. It's there. It's there. And finally, I'm uploading stuff. That's right. I'm uploading downloadables. The first of many is this one, the 27 plot point outline quick reference sheet. The link is available in the comments and description below. Don't worry, if you're a member on Patreon or Substack or even YouTube memberships, the downloads will be available for you. Other than that, now back to you, Thomas J. Bellezza. Boom! I'm glad I could help you. Save that breath. Thank you, pre-recorded Thomas J. Bellezza. You fantastic as always. Thumbs up, 10 out of 10. It was almost like you were reading that verbatim. Let's give a round of applause to pre-recorded Thomas. Definitely much needed. If anything, that was just a good experience. That was a good time. Good time. That's all I'm saying. Good time. All right, let's get back to the comments and then we'll jump on the poll. I love it. I knew it was you, Em. I knew it was you. Dang it, where's my popcorn? Listen. Popcorn, that's what we need right now. Some good popcorn. Buy Tom's. Buy Tom's and stuff. Yay, a video. We're getting right to the poll, my friend. We're getting right to the poll. Love it. Oh, now here's popcorn 3D specs. That's gonna be the next videos, 3D specs. Any of those answers are wrong for me. Well, look, that's fair. That's fine. You don't have to hit it. Yes, I did. I actually was taking a pee break while I had my feet on the desk, and I just want you to know. Oh, it's not over here. I have a skull cup. Anyway. I was. I made myself a cuppa. That's right. I'm learning the English dialect here. Now you can drink your Pepsi without being guilty. That's so funny. I feel like I see a similar version of this video with every live stream. I like that you share more information, though. Don't be afraid to share this stuff with people. I appreciate that. I really do. I think the thing is, my whole life, I've been uncomfortable with the buy me kind of like approach. And I've always been more of like, I want to help people and I want to be an opportunity to create conversation and discussion. And, you know, I make money doing this YouTube and selling books and stuff. But really what I would like to do is that YouTube just pays for everything, and then I could sort of just allow people to have stuff and be a resource, if that means it. Because I just my whole life I've been, what is it? You know, like we're here to serve. We're here to elevate one another. We're here to be not used, but like an opportunity for potential. And I know that there were people in my life that made it possible for me to have a career in the entertainment industry as long as I did, and to have a chance to believe in myself and to try things. And I just sort of want to be that. I aspire to inspire others. And I just never wanted to feel like, like I have some books, you should buy my books. Even though, yes, please buy my books. They make it possible for me to focus literally everything on this YouTube channel, and also being there to help others. In a way, like my developmental, like the prices I charge people is very low. And the reason I could do that is because of my situation and because of this and growing this. Because I think it's for me, my personal opinion on it is, if people are starting out, charging them an arm and a leg feels so weird to me. And when I found the right mentors, they didn't charge me, but they made money because I existed. They got opportunities. I introduced them to people. When I had projects and I needed certain people that had an expertise, who did I reach out to first? My mentors. And the idea to be like, you need your book developed, I'm going to charge you $1,000 or $100 an hour or $200 an hour or whatever. And it's like, but you're starting out and you need that money for marketing, and you need that money for advertisement, and you need that money to build your own company. And you know what? I would rather help you and see you grow, and then maybe you come back to me, or maybe you send people my way, or maybe you just have people watch my videos. I'm not just saying this to you. I'm just saying this to the audience out there, and I think that's what makes it hard for me to be like, all right, make a right, left here, like it's just the pitch. I have it memorized basically because I just want to get through it. And I don't know. I'm a weirdo. Let's just put it out. Let's just say that. Your teachable nature outweighs the salesman version of you, and I don't get the you have no idea. You have no idea how much that makes me feel better. You have no idea. I needed that. Thank you so much for that. I appreciate that. Oh, brother. Fabulous. Woo! Clappy, clappy, boom, boom. Thomas, AI Thomas, and pre-recorded Thomas, the three amigos. By the way, AI Thomas is my favorite Thomas. Look, I used an M dash. Oh, by the way, real quick, I just want to point it out. Suzanne Collins uses M dashes. I just saying, they are not AI. Use your M dashes, please, writers. There's a couple times she uses M dash here, M dash here. All I'm saying is, please, for the love of God, please keep using your M dashes. They are purposeful. They are great. I love M dashes. You got to use your M dashes. Where are we? We're here to serve. Amen. You get it. You get it, my friend. You get it. And I'm all about love and light. Starting out is the hardest part. You've been so approachable, and I appreciate that so much. Ashley, I appreciate the kind words. You know that. That's right. Like you reached out to me. I was like, boom, here. Whatever you need. I just believe in community. I believe building a community is more powerful than being like, how can I make money off of these people? I'll tell you something. This is years ago. And I bet you there's an ad that just popped on the video. Years ago, I was suggested to meet somebody. And I met them, right? They're in the film industry. And I sit down with them, and they started like I have a thing called Team Rise Together and By the Blood of the Rose Productions. But BBR Productions is like how I did all the entertainment stuff. Whatever if I got hired for anything, to consult on projects, whatever that was. If I got to write, BBR Productions. Team Rise Together was sort of like a thing where I would bring people together to work on projects, to learn the industry, and then also like I would help people get into SAG because I was in SAG. So if you recorded a short with me or a film, you'd get your waiver, and then you could, whatever the case is. Bear that in mind. So because I was helping people, I was told I should meet this other person. I sit down with them, and they tell me the first thing out of their mouth, right? Because I go, what made you start your company to help people? And they say, and I quote, I got screwed over. I got used and taken advantage of, and I decided to create a company that didn't take advantage of people. Now, let me tell you what the company was that they started. And this was the first thought I had, and it was the right thought. I thought, as soon as they said that, in my brain, they went to a company to help their career, got screwed over, and in my brain, I was like, oh, they saw that you can make money screwing people over who have a dream, and therefore, I'm going to start a company. And lo and behold, the company, the way they described the company was a production company that developed actors, writers, and filmmakers. And the way it worked was you paid them a lot of money. It was like $3,000 for the package, for like the starter package. And then you go through the classes, quote unquote. And then once you get to the end of the classes, you then buy another package, which was more money. Why? Because it was the advanced package. And I was like, oh, that is not what I do. I don't actually try. It's called team. It's a nonprofit. My team rise together, and they were. I didn't want to say. I almost gave out their. Because people will know who I'm talking about because they know. They were like, you don't charge people. I go, no. It's a nonprofit, and also it's a profit sharing. So if anyone who is working on a project invests in the project, then they own points. So they could work on it for free. They don't own points. Or they can invest money and they own points. And then we sell the projects and whatever. And they're like, really? How do you make money? I go, well, I'm a writer and I produce, like, I have BBR Productions. I have a money-making company and then I have a want to help people company. But the fact that they did this, my brain has never been able to or comfortable with saying to someone, it's a $3,000 package. And you're going to learn these things and then you're going to pay me another. I was blown away. I just basically said, thank you. Have a nice day. I'll take a virtual. Yes. Thank you. I am a hugger. I appreciate it. I wouldn't have written my third book without the knowledge you've imparted over the last 18 months. I am so happy to have you in my friends. You are absolutely a friend in the circle. And Flowers, I'm glad that you're writing the book. I'm glad that I inspired you to get to that book. And I'm glad I can help you whenever I do. And I'm here. You are in it to win it with me. That's all I'm saying. It's Nicole! Look, you got me so excited. I started. I felt like I was watching Spanish football, and we got a goal. I love the Hunger Games. So excited for this. Please, Nicole, please feel free to watch the video again. But also, I miss you. I know you send me reels, and I love every single one of them. But I just want you to know we're gonna have to get you on again soon, and maybe either do an interview or get you on a live so you can hang out and play. I miss you very much. I wish we lived closer together and could get some pizza. That's all I'm saying, Nicole. Sending you love. You know I love you. In order of greatness, Hunger Games trilogy, A Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, and then Sunrise on the Reaping. I have Sunrise on the Reaping 4 stars, the lowest of the other 4 books. Her writing isn't great in this book. No idea why. Maybe they rushed her to get it out. Oh, that's possible. Also, people complained about A Ballad of Sunbirds and Snakes for lots of reasons, all stupid reasons, usually. And I think the writer, I'm sorry, my dyslexia. And I think the writer and or her publisher editor told her to dumb it down. It's always possible for sure. Okay. Sounds like Scientology. You know what? It might be. They have to go up the rungs. We must see the rungs. The puppy really takes over my... That is absolutely a perfect excuse, my friend. You enjoy the pupster. I'm jealous. I just want you to know. I love that you get Nova in your life. Speaking, hey, how is Nova managing in the heat? Nova! She's doing well. No more heat. That's fantastic. Oh, we got to do the poll. Let's do the poll. All right. Thank you for that. We went on a tangent. It happens. Poll. All right. Would you rather? Nicole, I want to know. Nicole, please choose a poll answer. Nicole, I know you have a good one. You could pick any one of these. Technically, they're all great. For your mystery worlds. Would you rather live in your novel's world, hang with your protagonist, grab a meal with your antagonist, or trade lives with the love interest? See, if we're talking about the Maven Wars, I don't really. There are a lot of love interests because there's. But if we're talking strictly the protagonist's love interest, no. I'm not really into Devious. Let's just put it that way. I don't look at Devious and say, yeah, I want some of that Sarvian meat. Not my thing. However, if I was Darian, no, wrong. If I was, wait, how does this trade lives with the love interest? Oh, yes. Yeah, because okay, yeah. If I was Darian, who is the love interest of another character, yes. I would be Darian to enjoy the love interest. But with that said, my answer would be grab a meal with my antagonist. I don't know what it is, but I think Maven and I would have a good conversation. I think it would be fantastic. Now, as far as the antagonist of each specific book, there's actually multiple antagonists. I would not want to eat with Vigum. There's just no way I would do that. Nor would I want to eat with any of the soldiers. They're not necessarily my bag, baby. However, I would like to eat with Roder. Roder is in the second book. I love that character. Hang with your protagonist. I would absolutely hang out with Devious, but there's a caveat to that. I would rather hang out with Darian. Maybe Aaliyah. Definitely Zanaya. Garion would be fun, but he's not the protagonist. I'm trying to think of the other protagonists. Edric would be I would love to hang out with Edric. That would be a good conversation. That'd be fair. Devious, the thing with Devious is I love Devious, but at this point in the narrative, like, he's got some emotional stuff he's dealing with, and he's usually in his head, so I don't think he'd be, like, really talkative. But he's loyal. So, like, if Devious was my friend and we had to do something, he'd be the guy I'd choose. But as far as, like, hanging out, like, he's too inside right now. He's in the first book, he's too, like, focused on something else. I don't want to give it away, but if anyone's reading Death of the King, you know. So maybe not that one. You know what? Grab a meal. I would totally live in my novels world. That's actually the one I'll pick. I would pick that one. I'm with everyone else. 46% live in your novels world, for sure. I would live anywhere in that world. Well, not anywhere. Catium, I would not live in. That's my world's hell. I would not live there. Yeah, there you go. All right, 46% would live in your novel's world. Number one choice. Least amount was grab a meal. No one picked that. No one likes their antagonists. Interesting. Third place is trade lives with the love interest. I know who you are out there. And then, of course, hang with your protagonist, 38%. Live in your novel's world, 46%. Fantastic. 13 votes. I loved it. Good choices, everybody. There are no wrong answers. That was fantastic. Bless Nova. I'd say live in my urban fantasy world because hell yeah. Mostly because, let's be honest, Thomas the vampire, that would be fun. That would be fun. Morticia is flat out on the bed, belly to the oh, it must be really hot. Head on the metal bed frame. Heat temperatures for the UK. I heard it's really hot. I also heard you can't really have ACs. There's like something going on with that. I don't know. You tell me. I might be wrong. Oh, Morticia. It's hard with the heat wave. Yeah, no AC makes it very hard. Oh, we're almost done with today. If I were to hang with most of my protagonists, it'd be more from an overcrowded gallows. I have a friend, and that friend's brother is how would I say, a criminal. And that friend's brother has been in prison most of their lives. And my friend says, and I quote, my brother always says that he is a master criminal. And at the time, he was like, his brother was like 30 or something. He goes, and I told him, I don't think that's possible. You've been in prison since you're 18. And you've been in prison several times. So that would mean you get caught a lot, which would mean you are not a master criminal. All I'm saying, Em, is maybe your protagonist should be trying to find a new profession. So that's all I'm saying. My hubby just walked in and said, "Is that Tom Segura?" Tom and Tom's. First of all, I love Tom Segura. By the way, Nicole, listen to or read Tom Segura's autobiography. Very good. He talks about he has two halves to his lives. He's half Jewish and half he has Peru. His family's from Peru. His mom's from Peru. He talks about visiting Peru. He talks about his journey and his adventure. Very good book. I think you would very much like. If you like Tom Segura, you would like that book. It was a good book. He does got a book. It's old. It's an older book, but it's very good. I'd like to hang out with Moral, but I'd have to be dead. You don't want to hang out with More or Less Not Great? All right. No AC unless you're in some supermarkets or ITU. So basically what you just told me is never to move. Wait a minute. I had a friend who went to France, and she said that in France you can't have ACs either. Is it the same protocol? Also, the French don't believe in AC. I also heard the French don't believe in ice. How wrong is that? Is that just a stereotype? I would really I like to learn these kind of things, you know? Yeah, I think I'm hanging with the wrong crowd. No judgment, Em. No judgment. We love you. Basically, the vibe in Europe for various reasons. Various reasons. All right, is that everything? I think we did it all today. I think we did. Do you have any questions you want me to answer? Well, we did questions. So we got some questions out there. All right, we did everything. Guess that's it. You know what we haven't seen in a long time, and I'm kind of glad, is Man of War. That's all. I just want to put that out there. Man of War has been MIA. Are we meeting today, my friend, or tomorrow? Either works for me. SB, why don't you tell me what you would like, and I'll make that happen. If you want to meet tonight, I'm good to go. If you want to meet tomorrow, I'm good to go. Tomorrow might be better, but it doesn't really matter. You got a troll? Troll? You mean in my book? Well, Death of a King has a troll. I don't know. Troll? Are you asking me if I got a troll in my book? Or are you asking me, do I got a troll like, hey, somebody is trolling me? That's all I'm saying. Lol. Tomorrow it is. Make it so. I'll see you tomorrow, SB. Yeah. Oh, Man of War, a troll in your chat. Oh, no. It's a virtual troll. No matter what, if you're not into metal, you are not my friend. Heavy metal. Wimps and posers, I leave the hall. It's a heavy metal band. The only song I know, but I have all their albums. And I have listened to all their songs. But that is the only song me and my friends loved to sing at the top of our lungs. And when we actually went to see Man of War, I have seen him once, it was the most oil I have seen on a group of grown men with almost no clothes on, headbanging, with, I would call, massive curly Q hairs, meaning it's just a puff of hair, and just like everything was just a rhythm like that. I've not been around for 2 months, so I am obviously missing stuff. It's all right. We love you. Anyways. Feel the power of my song. Okay. Nicole, if you don't know, all I'm saying is it's Manawa. Gotta go. See you all soon, SB. Wait. Where is it? Here it comes. Much love to you, SB. Oh no, yes, that's Manowar, the heavy metal band. Manowar. I'm just saying. I had a dream the other night that I was on stage again in a band singing, and I just want to put it out there that I'm in that world. I'm 48, so I'm not going back up there like that, but I miss it sometimes, but I also don't miss it. If anyone's ever been in a band, I will tell you this. If you're in the band with the wrong people, it is not necessarily the best experience. But if you're in the band with people that you have to have the same mission, is what I'm saying. It's like if you're a writer and you have other friends who are writers, and one of them wants to just write a blog that is just their book. You know, occasionally they post a chapter. Another one wants to be signed. Another one wants to self-publish. Another one just wants to write to finish a book. That's a nice group to sort of be encouraging of one another, but not maybe if you want to traditionally publish. You would want to hang out with more people who are traditionally published. And obviously, if you're just starting out, that's a bit more difficult. But as you're developing your career, you'll be able to kind of expand into that world. However, if you're self-publishing, being friends with other self-published authors does help a lot. And why? Because you can share ideas and exchange ideas and help one another and be like, hey, listen, I'm renting a table for this event. I know you're in a different state, but would you like to send me some books and pay half the table cost? And then any books I sell, I'll send you the money for that. Like that's what community growing looks like. That's what working with like-minded people looks like. It's all mission-based, you know. It's like everybody sort of is like celebrating and elevating one another. But just saying. Avoid your eyes! Avoid your eyes! Don't look forward. I'm not wearing my 3D glasses. Yeah, no. If you were, it would have been devastating. All right, everybody. I didn't realize it was 2 o'clock. We did great today. I'm really glad we got to do this. Tomorrow will be Write a Book with Me. We will be continuing on getting the book out. Yeah, that's it. Other than that, I'm going to try to keep doing videos like this. Next Saturday is Rewrite the Greats. I will be rewriting the opening of a book. We'll talk about that tomorrow for Saturday. So let's see what we're going to do. I'm thankful my lenses are dirty. I mean, if they're not, they definitely are now. All right, everybody. So much love to you all. I will see you all tomorrow, 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Much love, as always. I am Thomas J. Bellezza, and keep developing the right mindset. Bye.